True.
Good evening, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Ranch in Taos, New
Oh
Mexico.
my God, he did.
Starting oil painting cane. It's going to be kind of a complex composition. It's going to require a little photographic referencing and some staging. But for the moment, I'm going to start it real simply with just a nice Prussian blue brush strokes background. And then the painting itself will involve, I'm going to have it kind of foreshortened with Cain with his arm raised, bringing a rock down onto Abel's head, or after he has already smashed his head with a rock, and the crack in his skull will be growing a tree. And that will develop from there, but that's the initial idea for the composition. Anyway, this one might take a little while. But, like I said, Sunday, mellow background, Prussian blue, brush strokey start. Here we go.
So your mind is simply doing what it is being programmed to do. Okay? So this is what I mean. Thank you both very much, by the way. So this is what I mean, that there's the external stressor, then there is, but we're the ones who process it, which also means, and by the way, let me just, can you give the mics back to these people for a second? Because there's one more question I forgot to ask. Because here's where the transformation is. Here's where transformation is actually possible. So, Willow, first you. Do you have a mic? Yeah. What kind of person feels abandoned? What kind of person gets abandoned?
A bad person.
A bad person, right. Now what if you fully, truly got what a magnificent person you are? Who is fully deserving and of respect and care, and who feels that they're just fine. Then what would happen if your husband played with his toys the whole weekend?
I would go and do something else.
Yeah, or you might say, hey honey, how about, but would there be no upset there, right?
Right.
Okay? What if, Martha, you knew how worthy of respect you actually are?
I would die early. And I'm trying to stay alive. I don't know.
Would it matter to you if somebody else didn't say you so clearly at that moment?
No.
It wouldn't.
No.
In other words, who's lacking respect for you?
What?
And who's lacking respect for you?
Me.
It's all within. It's not the other person at all. And that's the beauty of it. The reason that's the beauty of it, because what I said was that trauma was a disconnection from the self. And I'm going to read you a quote here from one of my favorite teachers, who says, you're talking about childhood here, he says, the fundamental thing that happened, and the greatest calamity, is not that there was no love or support. The greater calamity that was caused by that first calamity is that you lost the connection to your essence. Now your essence is love, your essence is connection, your essence is respect, value, worth. That's your essence. So he says, so the greatest calamity is not that there was no love or support. The greater calamity, which was caused by that first calamity, is that you lost the connection to your essence. That is much more important than whether or not your mother or father loved you or not. And the reason that's good news is because what happened 30 years ago, or 40 years ago, or 25 years ago, or in my case, 72 years ago, is never going to be changed. That history will not be rewritten and reenacted. But if that was the problem, we'd be in trouble. But if the problem is that we lost the connection to ourselves, guess what? That's 100% available to us at any moment. Now it takes work, awareness, but it's absolutely available. And this is what I've written in my epitaph already. You know that on my grave it's going to say, it was a lot more work than I had anticipated. Because believe me, it's never over. For most of us, it's never. There are some people who get transformation and then, then they go on Oprah and become great, But most of us, it's a process. And it's work, but it's entirely available to us. It's available at every moment, as long as we're conscious. Well, I think I'll stop here. We'll take a 15-minute break and come back quarter after the hour. She can't travel. So she actually gets a hold of some ayahuasca online. Now, don't try this at home, kids. It's not meant to be used that way. But this woman actually gets this online. Someone gets it delivered to her. She drinks it. She has a vision. I've never had such visions. I don't get these experiences when I drink that stuff. Almost I get a stomachache. But she did. Maybe because I don't need them. And she had these entities come to her that said, we're going to help you and love you and support you. Which is, if I were to explain that in psychodynamic terms, it's the parts of herself that she's been cut off since childhood. That night she gets out of bed for the first time on her own. And what she's done since is she's worked through her trauma. She's come to my retreat. She had to be carried on a pony to get up to the retreat place. But now she's walking around, and I said she sold a wheelchair and she's riding on a bike. Not because the plant cured her. The plant cannot cure her. It's not like, here's a drug, you take this. But what actually happened is that with the assistance of that experience and other work that she's done on herself, and she's continuing to work on herself, she's worked through her trauma, and that has helped to reverse her physiology. Many, many such stories, but there's a very famous one that I have no personal connection to, but there's a book called, by Anita Manjani, her name is, I think. It's called Dying to Be Me, bestseller. This woman is in hospital in Singapore with lymphoma. She's got 3 weeks to live. And then she has one of these she doesn't do any drugs, doesn't do psychedelics, no therapy. She just has one of these spontaneous out-of-body experiences. But this is the kind of stuff that if you had told me about it 15 years ago, I would have just laughed at it. As I would have at the ayahuasca, by the way. But she's an out-of-body experience in which she gets that she's never been herself. But guess what? All her life she's tried to please other people, suppressed her true self in order to fit in and to be acceptable to others. That's how she says.
All right, I think I like that, and that didn't take too long, but there you have it. Add some Prussian blue, threw in a little white to add a bit of a horizon blend in the light to dark. So I'm going to leave that and set it up for the figures in the next session. So thank you for watching. That's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, Mexico, working on oil painting cain. Have a good night, Earth.